All right, if you'd be seated, I'd like to start the meeting. We're really behind, and I want to make sure we get as many questions as we can. So I need everybody to be seated, please, so we can start. I can't think of his name, or I would call his name out. All right, my name is Linda Locke, the president of the Berryessa Citizens Advisory Council. We do have our guests here tonight. They are running for the office of sheriff. Very important office in our county. And they work with our police and everybody. Uh-oh. It's an epiphany here. All right, so we're going to have a little short meeting first. The minutes of the March, did we get the March minutes actually? I don't even remember seeing them myself. Where's Ty? Did we have the minutes? You did send them out. Okay. So, huh? Oh, they're on the website. Okay. So if you need to read them over, you can do it then. We have a paper that's out on the table there that Ty put together that kind of shows us why it's important that we know about the sheriff's department and what they're supposed to do and the kind of money that they have to spend on the sheriff's department. All right, so the treasurer's report. Gotta be at the mic.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. I have the treasurer's report for March 2022. The beginning balance on March 1st was $3,555.75. We had an income of $120, which were 8 membership due payments. And we had a donation of $40 from a member. We had expenses for the 2021 Citizen of the Year plaque. It was $43.70. So our ending balance on March 31st was $3,632.05. And we continue to have $10,000 in our City of San Jose District 4 grant as of March 31st, 2022. And I am accepting membership dues. They are $10 and it gets you through an entire year of meetings and cookies. Thank you.
And water. All right, thank you. Let's see. All right, next we have our police report. Captain Trayer is here tonight.
Whatever I say is never going to be as exciting as this. So hello, everyone. Great to see you in person. I'm going to take this off if that's okay. I'm going to go very quickly through this stuff for you so you know what's going on. We fortunately have had not a ton of burglaries in our area. Normally I tell you about 5 or 6 of them and kind of how it's happening. We've had one real one that was somebody's house that was being fumigated. I bring that up so you can remember to watch your neighbors when they're gone. They have something big like that happen. Just keep your eyes open for people messing with their houses. That happened at 5:30 in the morning. So that's kind of a tricky time for anybody to be looking out. There's been a lot of fatal traffic accidents in our city in the last 30 days. Fortunately, they weren't here, but my focus is to look at traffic in our city, and wherever traffic accidents happen, not just the fatal ones, we focus on those type of incidents so we can slow down traffic, especially on Capitol, especially Berryessa, Sierra, and White and Piedmont. Those are the biggies that we keep having a ton of accidents on. The biggest complaints we're getting right now, it just started coming in. I'm sure SO will tell you, Lieutenant Jones also, are school traffic at the schools right now. Every administrator and parent are calling us saying, we don't know why, but now there's a ton of cars in front of our schools doing scary stuff. So we are working on that. My traffic team has been going out every day and they're writing over 100 tickets a day. So I'm sorry if you got one, you're still a good person. We had 47 stops around here, kind of in the zone I call the BCAC zone. 47 stops, mostly on Berryessa, Sierra, and White and Piedmont, primarily for speeding and stop sign violations. And I will end it with this because I know my time is short. The officers are out making big arrests on, they're called, we call them ghost guns. but the new name that we call them are personal manufactured firearms, PMFs. That's the thing everybody calls them now, because ghost guns is too scary, I guess. But the PMFs have been happening. The officers all day and night are driving around stopping people with these guns that are unregistered, and they're very dangerous. We've started a new program at the police department where we're going to buy those guns off the street, which sounds ridiculous, right? But people will do it. They'll turn in the guns for a couple $100 to the police department or the sheriff's department eventually. And hopefully we can start getting more and more of those illegal guns off the street as well. Any questions for me? I'm going to yield my time to the stars today. Okay, thank you. Great to see you.
And we have representing the sheriff's department is Lieutenant Jeremy Jones.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. And first, I just want to say this is my second meeting in person. And thank you, everybody, for being so welcoming. On a side note, I just realized Miss Locke was my PE teacher in 1995 at Piedmont Hills. So that warm feeling I had, it takes me back to those Piedmont Lancer days. So now to get to some real important news, just like Captain Traer said, we're working in our area here for the sheriff's office. We've had 36 created events. Most of those events have been the Sierra Road. We've been doing patrol checks on that. We had one warrant arrest where we got out of there, 2 recovered stolen vehicles where we were actually able to return the vehicle back to the rightful owner, take that person into custody, and we wrote numerous traffic citations. We say there was 36 events, right, with that, but with our partnership with San Jose PD and our air support unit, we're actually able to do a lot more. So anytime there's any cars up there, we work with San Jose and our airship unit, and we fly over, and a lot of times that disperses the traffic. And as you see with the delineators that are being put up, there's a lot less traffic during the day, but there's more at night. So our focus, I looked through there, a lot of our patrol checks in them has been started at 2100. So for us, that's 9 o'clock at night, all the way up until 3 o'clock in the morning. So our deputies and our staff has actually heard your guys' concern, and thank you, Mr. Santos, as well, to go up there and be more proactive in that area. And in our area, we're actually assisting San Jose, and we've heard it all throughout the county about the traffic at schools right now, and that's vitally important with the pickups, drop-offs, all that. So we're encouraging our staff to go out there and meet with the crosswalk, meet with the students, right, where they congregate and all that, and just be a uniform presence, because if they see this uniform, they're going to slow down. And then it also gives us a chance to interact and forget that we're police officers and interact with the kids. So again, thank you. And I'm going to yield my time to the candidates up here. And thank you. Can't wait to see you guys next month.
That's the nice thing about it. We have the police and the sheriff working together. So we're going to get all those guys and get things organized eventually. They'll be discouraged. Before we get to the candidates forum, our assembly person, Alex Lee, is here tonight and wants to just give us a short update on what's going on.
Thank you. I'll just be very quick. I'm Alex Lee. I'm your state assembly member. I also live down the street from here. So proud to be a Berryessa born and raised resident as well. Just quickly wanted to update for you all that I'll be having my first office hours in person on April the 23rd. It'll unfortunately be in Fremont though, so it's a little bit of a drive, but it will be my first in person. We will still be doing virtual one-on-one appointments. So if you have things to talk about with me, we'll still be doing those Zoom ones as well. But the important thing I talked about is as we are closing on tax season, right? Of course, taxes are due very, very soon. I sit on the budget committee. So what you're probably hearing in the news a lot about economic rebates, about the stimulus is really important. The negotiations we're in right now. And I want to just let you know as a member of the budget committee and particularly part of the budget subcommittee for education, my priorities are in our school investment. Our surplus right now is only one-time guarantee. Next year, the outlook is not as positive. So I'm trying to make sure we have as much money going towards the school. And I've talked to our superintendent, make sure we really get those investments in early because we're also making up for a lot of lost time and lost learning given all the pandemic. So that's really my big focus, but it is quite certain that we will have some sort of economic relief package that will be happening coming very soon. But I also want you to know that through all the headlines you're probably seeing in the news, is the economic relief package directly competes with the infrastructure package. So the more economic relief you have, the less infrastructure money and vice versa. And I think that's what's lost in the TV news sometimes in that discussion. We do have a big surplus. It is not unlimited surplus though. And especially after Prop 98, we don't have that much discretion, thankfully, because I want to spend it mostly in our infrastructure and schools. And I'm personally championing a lot of it going towards our pensions for our educators, our school infrastructure, and a lot towards our transportation, as well as homelessness right now. And of course, homelessness is a big problem across the state. So we're going to be putting money towards that. If you have ideas as to what kind of infrastructure one-time investments is smart for the state right now, please do write to my office or come to our office hours. But that's negotiations that's happening right now. And as well-informed citizens, I wanted to let you know that I'm very diligently working on those negotiations right now. And thank you for having me just for a couple minutes, and I'll let you go on with the main program tonight. So thank you all.
All righty then. Talk about a little bit about the sheriff's department. Let me see, I had a little background here. Our county government is a massive organization spending over $9 billion each year. That's why I couldn't say that number. It's very high. There are 5 candidates offering themselves to be Santa Clara County Sheriffs. 2 of them were unable to make it tonight for, I'm not sure what the reasons were. Ty was working with them, but I know one had a prior engagement. So anyway, this position is responsible for a $189 million budget and a staff of 711. These dollars and staff are in fulfillment of commitment to preserve public safety. So that's why it's critical for us to know who these people are and what they stand for. And what we'll do tonight is we have questions that were submitted by various groups, and they were sorted out, and we'll get to as many as we can. I promised to start by 20 after, and by golly, I think we're going to do that. We'll go down the line and each person, I will read the question. If you need it repeated, you can certainly ask to repeat it. Otherwise, you each get a turn to answer that question. The second question will be the second person in the row that they will answer first, and so on. So the first part is each candidate can have 2 minutes to talk about themselves, their background, and why they're here. And our timer is over here. Vishnu, raise your hand so they can see you. And he'll hold up when it gets to 30 seconds. What is it? 30 seconds and then 10 seconds and then stop. So you'll know. And then each question is 1.5 minutes. Okay. So we will stop you. So if you don't stop, we'll say stop anyway. All right. So we will be starting with Sean Allen. Oh, no.
You ready? Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Allen. I'm a longtime resident of this community. I was born at Stanford Hospital in the early 1970. We moved to San Jose in 73. I'm a graduate of Yerba Buena High School, which is near the fairgrounds. My first job was at Burger King here on Story and White in 1985. So I'm very familiar with the community in the area. My wife's here. I'm a father of 4. Part of my background is I've led the largest and smallest of our unions. The smallest currently is a union of about 65 people, consisting of sergeants and lieutenants, middle managers and supervisors. I spent most of my career training. So what I mean by training is I've been a training officer for about since 1997. I was promoted to sergeant in 2018. I spent most of my career in the jails. Right now I'm assigned to Elmwood. This is important. Well, one of the things that separates me from my opponents, my colleagues, is that I was once arrested in this county. I was once arrested by San Jose Police Department for something I didn't do. I was incarcerated for about a week, a little less than a week, and I was housed in our main jail. I went through an entire process that was really humiliating and really a good learning experience in terms of how I view law enforcement. I was exonerated, of course, and I went into law enforcement. It was something that I dreamed about even in my younger years of school. And that gives me a unique perspective. I'm very big on the racial inequities
Okay. you
Oh,
need to-
sorry. I didn't
Yeah,
see
I
that.
know. I just looked up too, so. Okay. The next one is, who is, oh. Where are we? Kevin, right? Kevin, yes.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. My name is Kevin Jensen, and everyone's got a story. My story's long, and I can't tell it all tonight, but I will tell you that in the past, for the last 12 years, I've been calling out the mismanagement and the problems with our current administration. I came up through the administration since 1985 when they gave a 21-year-old a chance at a job when I had two small kids and I was in between jobs and I came from a life of dysfunction. I didn't always look like this, even though I was the assistant chief of the 10th largest local jail system, ran a budget of 190 million and had 1,200 employees. At one point, my father was in the worst prison in the United States for armed robbery in Golden State Penitentiary in Louisiana. My earliest memories are people bringing us food in a little silver trailer outside the prison. So for me, I had to realize that through dysfunction, divorce, bad boyfriends of my mom, alcoholism, and all the things my family went through, there was a way out. And at some point, I found my way out. I found values, I found faith, and I found something that was non-judgmental, but certainly helped me. And I married my wife at 19 years of age, and we tried to make a better life for ourselves. And this county gave me a chance. So the reason I'm doing this is there's unfinished business in Santa Clara County. I've been calling it out with courage, took the arrows for it, and we have to make changes. We are better than this, we deserve better than this, and we will get better than this. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, the next person is Christine, yes, the next person, yeah. Christine,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me this time to speak with all of you. I'm very honored to be here. My name is Christine Nagai, and I am running for Sheriff of Santa Clara County. First of all, I'd like to let everyone know that I am a lifelong Democrat and I am a progressive. I am a common sense progressive. I believe that you can still advocate for change and reform, yet do the vital work that it takes to keep our community safe. I am running for sheriff to change law enforcement, not just here in Santa Clara County, but I want to influence change everywhere. We in law enforcement, we need to take a step back and ask ourselves, who are we here for? I've thought about that, and there are many things that need to change. We cannot honestly say that the days of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Eric Salas Sanchez are done, because these incidents date all the way back to Rodney King. And they only got caught because they were video recorded. Even in our own towns, we have encrypted radio traffic. We have lack of transparency. Some chiefs are shutting out the media. There's a sergeant running around, his nickname is The Fused. This is unacceptable, and this just shows that the thin blue line is in full effect. And I aim to smash that line. We need common sense changes to law enforcement and the culture within law enforcement, and that is why I am running for sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question will go to Sean Allen. And why are you running for sheriff? What experience and skills will you bring to the sheriff's office?
As I mentioned before, I'm running for sheriff because this is my community. I fought the injustices that some of my opponents have brought up. I've actually sued the department for racial discrimination, sexual harassment, and retaliation, and prevailed in 2016. I've seen the inequities. I've seen the police abuse of powers. I've seen our promotional process being tainted and corrupt. I've fought and exposed some of the corruption that's currently being at the forefront of what the sheriff is going through today. So again, I'm homegrown. This is my community. I understand what's going on here. I understand the resolution. Like I said, I've ran the largest union. I've ran the smallest union, so I understand how that works. And I think that when people say they're going to be transparent and reform and be accountable, those are things that I've already done. I've been doing my entire career. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. For me, the reason I am the most qualified is because I have hit every major managerial area and below in the sheriff's office. I ran internal affairs for 2 years investigating police misconduct. I was on the traffic sergeant detail and that was interesting because when people think of what's the biggest issue in a local neighborhood, they try to think of major crime. It's traffic. Believe it or not, that's what we need and that's what I've done before. But really, it's the things that I've stood for 12 years. I came into this not having much, being very grateful every day for a job that gave my family benefits. I raised 3 children here. They went to local schools. I have 9 grandchildren now. And I feel like we deserve better. When I saw the injustices going on, Sean is right. He has, and we all have spoken up, but I've been doing it from a lead position for a long time and taking the arrows. I had people testifying before the Blue Ribbon Commission on the jails. I helped and I testified myself. I've spoken to the Board of Supervisors. And I know we can do better. People trust me. That's why 97% of the Deputy Sheriff's Association trusted me and endorsed me. That's why San Jose POA and every major law enforcement area that endorsed me. And when you call 911 and someone comes to your house, those people endorse me. And I trust them to make the right decision. They know me, they honor me, and they know that I'm collaborative enough to say, we need to do this together with the community. My father may have been incarcerated and imprisoned, but at some point we realize from our mistakes we can make better. And I'm hoping you'll allow me to make better with all of you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm running because the sheriff's office is in dire need of change and complete law enforcement reform. And I know I am the candidate who can deliver that. I am the only candidate who is currently working day to day, side by side with our deputies. I see the problems that occur daily, and I know the specific problems that occur daily. And I know that I am the one that can make all these changes happen. The staff is not afraid to come to me. They're not afraid to ask me questions. They know I will give them honest answers, and I want honest answers from them. I want to know if I'm doing a right job. I have lived in the Bay Area for 25 years. And I've been a resident of San Jose for the past 17 years. And I love living in San Jose, and I want my community to feel safe and protected. And that's what the sheriff is supposed to do, to protect and serve. And I vow to do that if elected to this position. Thank you very much.
Okay. The second question, we'll start with Kevin. Okay. What are the 3 key issues facing the sheriff's office today? And of these 3, which one would you consider the #1 challenge? And how do you plan on addressing it?
The major problem with the sheriff is multifaceted, but it's been 24 years of rule by fear and intimidation. And unfortunately, what we've had under those times is promotional processes that have not been done by merit. We've had the tip of the iceberg is what's been in the news, the gun permits for sale, 14 times more chance to get a gun permit if you donated to somebody's campaign. That's horrendous, but that's not telling you what's happened in the jails. Because when I was running the jail as a national model on the day-to-day operations, we had better facilities, we had programs. Of course, me coming from an inmate's son, I believed in rehabilitation, and I also saw Richard Allen Davis and knew there are predators out there, and we have to fill a dual track to take care of both. Give people an opportunity to get better if they choose it, and make it easy for them. We need mental health care, but in the jails right now, we have to rebuild the culture. I've already got a plan since 2014 when I ran the first time and got 41% of the vote. I didn't succeed that time, but I'm still here, and I'm asking for your vote to carry through the changes we need to make. The mental health aspect is probably the biggest part of our jail and our homelessness and our societal problems. So that's the biggest part that we need to fix in order to make all of those things slow down, to recede, and to get people back where they need to be. I think the last thing is trust. Community trust is our biggest problem. We as an organization by management have hurt the community trust. I've always stood for collaboration. I work well with San Jose PD and every chief here as the national president of the California president of the National Academy executive branch. So we're bringing it back, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. The top 3 issues that I feel that the sheriff's office is facing right now is law enforcement reform, recidivism, and retention. And of those 3, the most important, I believe, is law enforcement reform. We need complete and total reform within the sheriff's office. And the reform needs to come in the form of training for our deputies. I would like to implement more implicit bias training. We need to implement more crisis intervention training, and I would also like to implement critical race theory. Critical race theory is imperative that our deputies and our staff understand this. The more they can know somebody's culture, the more they can understand their culture. And just as General Milley said, there's nothing wrong with learning. Just because I read Mao, just because I read Marx, doesn't make me a communist, doesn't make me a socialist. It makes me understand a person and who they are. And that is our biggest hurdle that the sheriff's office is facing right now. We need law enforcement reform. We do need recidivism, and that branches with law enforcement reform. We need better education prior to somebody coming into our custody, during their time and staying with us, and after they are released. So like I said, my top 3 issues, I believe, is with the sheriff's office is law enforcement reform, recidivism, and retention. Thank you.
Okay, John.
I agree with what they said, but in addition to that, to be more specific, we actually have a budget of nearly 800 million. We didn't talk about the jails. The jails budget is 2/3 of the department, and the staffing is 2/3 of the department. So the things I've identified is public safety, what I call ART, accountability, reforms, and transparency. And then, of course, as I mentioned, our mental health population and how it affects homelessness and the substance abuse process. Since the sheriff's office took over the jail, most people don't understand this. We have a unique system here. We're one of 3 counties that the sheriff is not traditionally in charge of the jail. This is a contract that occurs here. And so we've kind of lost track on how to do that. We've had deputies murder inmates. We have a horrible promotional system, and the CCW problem that we discussed all over the paper is not the only issue. We have internal pay to play. 44 of our employees who gave money to Lori Smith's last campaign, out of those 44, 40 were promoted. So that's in a corruption process. That's a corruption process that only needs to be corrected. I haven't asked for any donations from people who work for me. So those are the issues we need to deal with. We have 48 beds for acute psychiatric mental health people out of 2,500 people in our population. 40% are challenged with mental health. So we don't have enough beds. We triage these people. So when our officers abuse the system, the other issues are accountability. If you file an internal complaint against an officer, they have 1 year to discipline people. And what Lori Smith does is she allows that discipline to sit on the desk for 1 year and doesn't hold them accountable. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Christine, you will answer the question first. What are the first 3 things you are committed to do your first year as sheriff? How will we know you accomplished them?
The first 3 things that I will do once elected will be, number 1, I will show complete transparency. From day 1, I will give the Board of Supervisors and the oversight committee that we have everything that they've been asking for over the past 3 to 5 years. There should be nothing to hide. There should be 100% complete transparency with the sheriff's office to the community. There's no reason why we should hide behind any of it. The second thing I would do is I would de-encrypt the radio transmissions throughout Santa Clara County and all of our municipalities. Once again, by having encrypted radio traffic does not allow complete transparency. Our media personnel do not get to report, do not get to respond to cover a story because there's radio silence and they cannot have access to any of this. And the third thing that I would do is I will weed out the bad apples and the people protecting them. And I will do everything within my legal ability to have those people removed. We do not need the old school personnel that we have. We need the diversity in the sheriff's office that is not currently represented in our administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So my plan is a little similar. Transparency is very huge, but I would like to reorganize the department's management team. Our executive staff is in every bit of way attached to the immediate corruption that's going on. If they aren't active participant, they knew about it. So that goes against our ethics policy, and I plan on reorganizing the command staff. Collaborations, a lot of collaborations that the sheriff's office once had, we no longer have. So we were trying to readdress that. I want to readdress how we're handling things like what we're seeing in the community, sideshows. I think collectively we should get with the other agencies and figure out a way to isolate those individuals, and with traffic enforcement, ticket and tow their cars so that we won't have that problem anymore. And then a focus on training and developing our staff. I believe that if you show me a bad law enforcement employee, someone involved in misconduct, I will show you a product of bad supervision and poor training in every instance, period. So we need to revamp that. We need to figure out how we got here. I want to collaborate with some of our educational institutions to do some studies from like Stanford University, Santa Clara University, and San Jose State, and use that data to focus on how we're going to fight crime and how we're going to make our system better for our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Go ahead.
Thank you. So as the California president of the FBI National Academy Associates, we were an organization that sent people to up to Quantico with all the executive law enforcement from around the world. The only two countries that weren't allowed were China and North Korea, and I understand why. We learned so many opportunities to make things better. It's not just that we have the answers here at the table. We have a breadth and width of knowledge throughout the world that I've called on many times in my roles. So 3 things are the culture has to change, and I have to make that transparency known. That's why I helped the Blue Ribbon Commission and testified over there, and helped Sean win a lawsuit and helped be the leader that I was supposed to be in fight against the injustice at the sheriff's office. We need community forums. We don't need to just talk to the community. We need to listen to the community. When's the last time you saw the sheriff anywhere at a community forum asking what you thought and really getting the feedback to sit down with community groups like the leadership here and in other communities? The other thing is we need to be a regional asset for law enforcement. We have not been playing well with our neighbors. We have taken under this sheriff who did not like the other chiefs, always wanted to be in power. We need to share. We need to be a regional asset and collaborate and give them the opportunity as a county to bring all law enforcement operations together and say, we're a team. We're working with San Jose PD. I believe that the way that we get better is we start listening and we start collaborating. And luckily I have the relationships statewide and local to do that.
Thank you. Kevin, we start over with you again. How do you plan on keeping Santa Clara County residents safe? That is, what specific measures would you take to protect our communities?
Thank you. First, we have to stop hiding behind we don't have enough staff. Staffing is an issue. Right now, we are down about 150 deputies in the last 3 years. San Jose has been down and are slowly rebuilding. They've got a good model that's working. And I'm looking at all the models, but we need to say while we are down, it doesn't mean we give up. It doesn't mean we stop helping. We've got a reserve unit that I used to manage as a lieutenant in community services when we had people at Paula School and we had people at all over the place doing really good work in communities as coaches and everything else. We're down to 20 reserves. So I want to build up our reserves. I want to build up our vetted volunteers, and I want to build up our staffing. The way we build up staffing in this department is stop the bleeding because people are running to other agencies because they're embarrassed of where we are. We have some good people that stayed here. We have some good people that'll fight the fight. I don't believe that we're all corrupt. I believe we got a pretty good percentage that we need to change, but I don't believe all law enforcement is bad. I believe that there are enough of them there that are trying to survive in this day and age, but the bad ones will be gone. That's why I worked internal affairs. So for me, we keep each other safe by building our staffing and responding to Sierra Road, responding to the homeless encampments, and don't come in as officious, but come in as helping with the collaborators and the combined services, wraparound services. We need to do a better job of working with services to provide for people rather than just coming in and saying we're going to clear them out. But I'm tired of Sierra Road dumping and sideshows and everything else and saying we don't have enough staff to get up there. We can do it.
Okay, thank you.
My idea
Went out of
of-
order. That's okay. Let her do
I'm
it.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, my idea of ideas for the safety of Santa Clara County, again, it boils down to law enforcement reform. We need to focus on the 6 pillars of policing that President Obama has put forth many years ago. And that includes building the trust and legitimacy. We need to have greater policy oversight. We need greater technology and social media. We need community policing and crime reduction. We need better training and education, not only with the deputies, but also with our inmates, with our incarcerated families. We need also to establish officer wellness and safety. Those are the 6 pillars of policing that we must get back to. We must implement before anything. And with that, we will have a safer Santa Clara County. And we also need to have a wellness facility instead of a new jail. We have 40% of our population has a mental health illness, and they do not need to be in jail. They have become criminals because we have put them in jail. That is no place for somebody, anybody, a loved one with a mental health illness to sit in a jail cell and to deteriorate and not get the needs, not get the help that they need. If they're in a wellness facility, they will get the treatment and they will be treated like human individuals with dignity and respect.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sean.
There's a myriad of issues, and there's no one real answer. How I'll say this is this: with our staffing issues, they're real. We have people who live in Arizona and Nevada who fly in to work in our department. The cost of living here, as everyone knows, it's hard to adjust and live here. So the idea I have is, number one, take for example the Gilroy mass shooting we have 800 custody deputies. Not one left the facility to help out because of management. Same thing with the mass shooting at the VTA. So those 800 employees aren't being utilized effectively. They're cops, they have training, and we're not using them. So that's one issue, is get those people involved, and their primary job is custody, but we can use them to do general law enforcement in emergency situations such as those. The sideshow thing, I think that's a big issue. I mentioned that before. So what I plan on doing is utilizing those custody issues, those vans, those buses to isolate those areas, and bring in motor units from every allied agency and attack those issues. We need to pay better to retain good people, and we need to have effective leadership to retain good people. And that's what we're lacking. And that will bring up the services that we provide to you, period.
Thank you. Christine, we'll start with you this time. It's kind of out of order, but anyway. Christine, how will you work with the Board of Supervisors and other agencies to effectively and efficiently implement the department's goals?
I have met with the Board of Supervisors prior to my campaign. And as I was the sergeant of the compliance unit, I went to the Board of Supervisors meeting. I cannot tell you how many times over the course of my 3 years I had to speak with the Board of Supervisors, and I respect the Board of Supervisors and I respect their opinions. And if there is at any time that I do disagree with them, I have a voice and I can voice my opinion, but we will maintain a jovial relationship as we do right now. And just like a family relationship, you can have the banter back and forth, but that does not mean you disrespect each other. We must have respectful relationships with our Board of Supervisors and respectful relationships with our brothers and sisters in our fellow police departments. Right now, the bridge between our municipalities is broken. As my opponents have said, the bridge for the communication is broken. And I will mend the gap between us and all of our local police departments. We must work together. And the reason why we have the distrust in the community is because we are not working together. We must have greater community outreach. We must show that we are out there. I am not the type of person who's going to sit in an office and dictate what's going on. Like I said earlier, I am in the trenches, for lack of a better word, and I love working on the line and have my deputies see me every day.
Sean, it's your turn.
So I've spoken with all the Board of Supervisors, and I have a decent relationship with them. They understand where I stand on things, and I've been very transparent with them as well. Some of the big concerns they have, again, is going back to the jail. Our patrol functions and our patrol services are being, I think most people are happy with them, but there's a big concern with the jails because of our mental health population and how we're treating those who are incarcerated. Since the sheriff took over, as I mentioned earlier, we've reduced the amount of programs in our jail system. We're not providing them with options to help reduce the recidivism. And what people don't understand is that each person that's incarcerated costs the taxpayers about $100,000 a year. So we need to work together with the board of supervisors to fix those issues. It wasn't mentioned here today, but we mentioned other forums that I was one of the people that supported Supervisor Elberg's idea about not building a new jail, but we need to have a mental health facility specifically for those people. It's hard to have people challenged with mental health incarcerated with those who are here from AB 109 from our prison system, who are institutionalized and have to address all their issues the same way. It's impossible. So I have been working with the board of supervisors on those issues. I think that's a huge issue. And right now it's cost us about $1 billion since the murder of that mental health inmate, and that's taxpayers' money. So that should tell you which direction we should be going. Thank you.
Thanks. So for many years, I've sat in on those meetings on the table of the Public Safety and Justice and other committees with the boards, all the way back to before Blanca Alvarado, who has endorsed me, and many, many others, because I knew what was going on as I went from sergeant to lieutenant to captain to assistant chief. You have to know the numbers. If you don't know where the money is, when I was a patrol deputy and a jail deputy, I used to ask for things and say, why don't we have it? When I got up to near the top, I started realizing we have very little discretionary funds. If you think about what our budget is, most of it's tied up in personnel costs and some kind of their benefits. So when you have to sit there and advocate with measurables for everything you spend, that's where I come in, and that's what I've done with a $190 million budget. So for me, I will work well with them. I've talked to all of them. I talked to the city council people. Magdalena Carrasco just endorsed me today. And I think that the idea is having an understanding of where the money is, how to spend it, is part of the deal for solutions. They can't just grant you anything. You have to show the measurables to say, this is how we're going to do it. These are the measurables we're going to do to make sure it's successful. And we're going to go down that road together. I'm glad to have that rapport with them and with all the police chiefs, because now we can get people together to finally fix a problem and understand you can't just ask for something without telling them how it works and how you're going to pay for it. So that's where my strength is.
Thank you. Sean, we'll start with you. How, excuse me, how will you work to ensure that people with mental illnesses are tended to both in and out of jail?
Well, the resources haven't been utilized effectively. Again, I said we reduced the amount of programs in the facilities. Our mental health staff is at an all-time low. No one really wants to work in the jails because it's a stressful environment. So the idea is to continue to build those relationships with Valley Medical, with the other civilian organizations that provide resources for people who are not incarcerated. And with the impact that we felt as a community with the close of Agnews, we're treating those people in have mental health issues. We're putting them in jail where they just don't have options. They're not constantly supervised. And as I mentioned, that process, when we shoot them up to our 8th floor in our psychiatric unit, we triage them, and it starts all over. The process starts all over. It's ineffective. So it's my idea to make collaborations to put our resources to better use and allocate staff and work with other entities to fix what we're not doing now. If we don't, we're going to continue to spend a bunch of money on a problem that we should be able to correct. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So part of the issue is, for many years, people try to incarcerate their way out of problems, and you cannot incarcerate your way out of these problems. And when the mentally ill, in whatever stages they were in, suffered before, we had Atascadero, we had Agnews, and those facilities housed people, but they didn't treat them well. And that's why they closed. There were abuses there based on the people they're supposed to care for them did not treat them well. So you have to know your history to be able to fix it. So I met with Supervisor Ellenberg also. I did advocate for the new jail for this reason. I don't go on face value. If you just say build a jail and fill it, that's wrong. But if you say this has been done for many years and it's now gone 100 million over budget, when you've planned it with mental health facility facilitators, when you planned it to be an environment of treatment, of rehab and rehabilitation, like I said, we hope not to fill it. But while they're there, let's give them a place where they can be treated and have rehab. And while we don't have it, we still need to do our best in the linear jail system to treat and give options as well. But I know that that'll be a better system. So for me, I think all in all, we've realized over the years that we're not going to do anything unless we use something innovative like the CARE Act. I still have problems as long as there's an ombudsman or somebody to make sure they're being treated well while they're getting the help they need, and family comes first. Reach out to families so that those suffering mental illness can maybe be reunited and have them be part of the process of a conservatorship if needed.
Thank you.
So we all know that the reason why we have so many mental health in our facilities is from the 70s and the 80s. During those administrations, they closed all these facilities, and the mental health residents were sent to county jails. And we all know that that is wrong. And although I would love to have a new mental health facility, time is at the essence. We need to do something right now. We have so many mentally ill individuals, and they need our help. We have multiple county buildings sitting vacant throughout Santa Clara County. These buildings can be renovated, easily renovated, to help these people in crisis. Excuse me. To help these people in need. They need our help now. If we wait to build a new mental health facility, as the Board of Supervisors want to wait, it's going to take 6 to 10 years minimum for us to get a new facility built. If we think with common sense solutions, we think smarter, we can use all of these vacant buildings that we have. If we can renovate the jails, why can't we not renovate these buildings to help our most vulnerable residents here in Santa Clara County? Not just residents that are free, but our residents that are also our incarcerated residents. They need our help, and they need our help now.
Thank you. All right. Kevin, we will start with you this time. Our Berryessa Foothill community consists of both city and county law enforcement jurisdictions. Foothill areas lack regular patrols, especially at night and after midnight. How do you propose to better communicate and coordinate between the sheriffs, highway patrol, and San Jose PD to provide these much needed patrols and enforcement of not only illegal activity, gun violence, arson, but reckless driving and speeding?
By the relationships that I built over 37 years, I knew the commanders and the leaders of all those organizations. The number 2 in the CHP was my board member when I was on the national board, and his name was Max Santiago. Now Kathy Wayne was the area commander here. We need to talk to the people that are doing the job now, and under the current culture, it's hard for them to give a lot of feedback to the top at certain times. So those people that really want to do the job, the people you see here tonight and the people that work for them, I think they want to do a better job for you. But we need someone at the top to release them to do it and to bring in reserves and others until we can get that staffing. I think that the needs, and that's what bothers me. When I was working out here on the east side and I was out coordinating with San Jose PD, we got along well. The management didn't get along very well on our side of the table, but we always met. We talked about different problem areas because the criminals don't know borders as much, and they will go across. And if we're not coordinating, we're not helping you. Now we have systems in place where detectives can talk together. Streamlining committee meetings are what I like. Streamlining committee meetings mean you get people from all those different agencies, probation, parole as well, and even service providers together to say, and community leaders to say, these are our problems, how do we solve them? Everyone's at the table so we don't have to check back in a month. You talk about it, you make a solution, you might have to check with the boss, but if I'm the boss, you're going to get your help.
Thank you. Christine.
One of the many solutions that we have is increase the staffing that we have. And by doing that, we currently have a custody academy and an enforcement academy. Moving forward, I would like to end that protocol, and I would like to have one academy. Everybody goes to the Sheriff's Office Academy. Everybody comes out with a post certificate. Everybody will be able to work in the streets, in the jails, in the courts. And by having a greater pool of deputies, because of that, now we will have a greater pool of deputies to send out and to help with assistance. I want to implement a retention program equal to that of San Jose PD. If you leave before your 5 years of service are up, you must pay a portion back of your training fees back to the county. If you complete your 5 years, you can lateral into a different agency, you can move around, but we have you for 5 years. And that is a key number. Because if you stay for 5 years, you're most likely stay for a little bit longer, hopefully 20. We need to have that retention program because this will give our background unit ample time to do more thorough investigations on our applicants, to get more qualified applicants. We need to stop looking at just military and people with criminal justice backgrounds. We need to be creative. We need to have critical thinkers. We need to go after the sociology majors, the history majors, the people that have the critical thinking abilities and want to come and work for us.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sean.
Collaborations, as already suggested, is very important, and I would establish those where it's been broken down. But one of the things I've noticed over the recent years, and I've worked patrol, I think, since they have, is that, for example, quite recently we had a huge staff shortage in our jails and in patrol districts about 2 months ago, and they were down to just bare bones. And one of the things I was asked by the Board of Supervisors when they called me to see what the problem was, I said, well, we have about 182 managers and supervisors in our department. And where were they? We had 2 working in the jails. We had 1 or 2 on patrol throughout the whole county. And so the next question I asked the Board of Supervisors, well, where was the sheriff? I live here. Like, if there's a staff shortage, you'll see me. I'm not afraid of getting out in a patrol car or walking the jail system and working. That builds confidence in the staff, that builds up morale, and that shows the community that the sheriff, the elected sheriff, is here to help out. Those collaborations will happen. It will show the other police leaders the same thing. And it's something Eddie Garcia was great at as a San Jose police chief. And I plan on continuing that pattern. You will see me. You won't see me behind a desk. I'll be out in the public and I'll be out assisting you in helping to provide better services. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine, you start this question. We had planned on having 5 candidates here, but we only have 3. So we're going through a lot of questions. So, all right, Christine, you're up. Will you commit to enforcing the current laws on the books? Example, current laws prohibit camping on public property and creating litter, but it seems these laws are not enforced on people who choose to live on the street.
Yes, I will continue and I will enforce those as well. I actually reached out to a gentleman in Bakersfield. He was a council member down in Bakersfield. And I had asked him, because I had noticed during my research that they reduced their homeless rate by 55%. And that is huge, 55%. And what they did is they build the tiny houses. We have so many .com companies here. I've been researching. Many of them are willing to put solar panels on top of the homes, give them free Wi-Fi, and the house will have air conditioning, heating, electricity, a bathroom, a place where they can feel safe and a place where they can feel secure. And also give them the tools where they can get a computer, get access to a computer, get a job, get the job training. Once somebody gets a job, they pay taxes. When they pay taxes, it boosts revenue. And now they feel they're an active part of society. And now they have dignity. And what is worse than not having your dignity? When you can live on your own, you have your place that you can call home, you give your dignity back, that brings you feel like a whole person. And by using this project, I believe we could also reduce the homeless rate by 55% here in Santa Clara County. We have the technology and we have the tools and we have a lot of people here that want to make that happen.
Thank you. Sean.
So I believe this is a full circle problem. We covet what we see. So we're seeing a lot of our homeless people in front of our schools. There's needles everywhere. There's people going to the restroom in places that they shouldn't. So correct, this is a very wealthy county, and I'm not saying the citizenship, I'm just saying in business overall, this is Silicon Valley. So we have the resources to provide alternate care for an alternative for people, providing with education, opening up the libraries, giving them incentive to find work, getting them off the street. The idea of the mini homes, the small homes, it's somewhat working downtown, but there's just not enough of them. We need to provide those kind of options. What we're seeing is that a lot of people will, in inclement weather, for example, they don't want to be out in the rain, so they'll force themselves to get arrested. So we incarcerate them. So that's another cost. So this is not a simple solution, but we need to make sure that we provide people with alternatives to living on the street effectively. And those are through collaborations and giving them resources to get off the street. As I said, find a computer, get a job. I know COVID has had an impact, but we have the resources to fix that. And I'm interested in collaborating with people so we can do that. Thank you.
Thanks. I think it's a complex problem, and yes, definitely we will enforce it. But how you enforce it is important. For many times, I think we allowed our officers to go in unprepared without CBOs and other groups that could partner with us. So we didn't look like we were infiltrating. We didn't look like we were the military coming in. Now we can go in with CBOs, and I've talked to Todd Langton and others in homeless care, and we need to be part of the solution. The solution is much bigger than any sheriff or any sheriff's deputy. But what has happened is we need a regional manager. We can't have people keep trying to solve it on their own. We need a coordinator that's going to say, all these groups that are working together need to sit down and start getting together on these solutions. And if we don't do that, then we keep throwing little bits at it, and it's not really going to help anyone for the long-term solution. So sure, we want to do those things. And I've already talked about business partners and corporations. Carl Gordino, the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, formerly owner, has endorsed me, and he's the best at getting corporations to invest in neighborhoods and do the cleanup. Send them some of those bins to get rid of the refuse. At the same time, send CBOs with officers so they're safe to deal with all the underlying issues there and get them help with wraparound services. There's a lot of people that are trying. We just don't have coordination of effort, and we keep failing. So we need coordination and leadership from the top. Once we sit down together, all those ideas can be vetted out, and we can get the best ones rise to the top.
Thank you. Sean, you're up first. In California, law enforcement agencies reserve almost exclusive authority to issue or deny California concealed carry weapons licenses. What will be your policy regarding the critical judgment criterion good cause exists for issuance of the license because you are a member of your family is in immediate danger? Good call, brother. Let me read that again. Okay, it's the concealed weapons, and we know that's been a problem. Okay, so good cause exists for issuance of the license because you or a member of your family is in immediate danger. So now we know that. Is that making any sense?
I think. So yeah, this is a unique issue. This problem, as we know, California law is not. It's not a shell issued state. It's a just cause. Our county has been plagued with corruption in that regard. So whether you're a Silicon Valley exec or you're the small business owner or the homeowner that has legitimate reason to have it, I'm going to implement a process that one is enforced and one is in line with the Constitution, state constitution, as well as a federal constitution. We have an issue with that. So what I want to do is use a reserve deputy or we have background investigators that we contract with, have a full-time person responsible for processing those concealed weapons permits. As far as the issue of good cause, I think that lies on some of the individual issues, whether it's a legitimate death threat or you're a small business owner and you're traveling with cash. All those things, you can actually put restrictions and limitations on some of those things, but it's not always needed. So it needs to be a fair and equitable process, and I will instill that happens. I will allocate resources so someone's constantly involved in that process, and then as long as there's good cause, I'm not going to limit people from providing protection because we don't have the people. we don't have personnel to provide you with an armed guard everywhere you go. So you have a right to it. And if there's good cause, I'll issue it. Thank you.
I think this is one of the things that I've done a lot of the research on because it was such an issue for so long. The Mercury News tried 6 different times to get the factors that led to the problem, and they could never get it. When they finally realized what the problem was and forced the issue, and then the civil grand jury received testimony from a deputy sergeant from the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, they found out that all those permits went into a drawer and were never touched again. You had a 14 times better chance of getting it if you had donated to her campaign. That's wrong. The process will be transparent. The process will follow the law. People will be notified when they come in and when they go out. When they ask the sergeant, when did you ever go back in the drawer to notify somebody whether they got it or didn't get it in the process? Never. Under oath. He said, well, when did they get processed? When the sheriff or Rick Sung or somebody else came down and said, this is the one you're going to accept. So for me, I've been scouring other counties to get best practices. And I realize Supreme Court is also coming down with a law very soon. They're going to make a ruling. So we're going to follow the law. And I believe that responsible means you are trained, that you have an opportunity to use common sense, that you're not a felon, and that we're going to follow all those things with a process that works. I will fix the process first and find the best practices, but I believe that we cannot go anymore with the process that says pay to play for gun permits. We have to go with the process that says this is the legal way to do it, and that's what we're going to follow. I'll be removed from the situation unless it's some kind of a flaw. I'm going to get a committee to do them, and I will receive no pay for a gun permit.
This is always one of my favorite questions. And I think all of us here can agree we all need common sense gun laws. We need common sense gun control. And I do support the Second Amendment, but again, with common sense gun control. My idea in addressing the CCWs is a fully electronic system that will mirror that of San Mateo County. I will completely have myself out of it. If you go onto the San Mateo County site, it's a very lengthy application process, and it needs to be. You must upload a lot of different paperwork, your identification, your birth certificate. It's a very, very thorough process. Not one point are you going to hand somebody a physical piece of paper. When you hand somebody a physical piece of paper, there lies the transparency can go out the door. If it's fully digital, it's fully automated. Items can be redacted, information can be redacted, and we can pull all the information out of a database, and it can be reported to any agency. It can be reported to anybody, any oversight committee that they want to see the statistics for our county. It's right there at a touch of a button. We can control the information that they get. And my idea of using San Mateo's electronic system is by far, in my opinion, the best system that we could have. It's completely transparent, and I would be taken out of the equation 100%.
Thank you. We only have 2 questions left, and then we can wrap up and give you time to mingle with the audience here. And we have coffee and cookies. So here's Kevin, you will start this question. We are interested in an ongoing interaction with you as leader of the Sheriff's Office. We really appreciate the Sheriff's deputy reports at our monthly meetings, but when will we see you as in the office again?
When I was a captain and an assistant sheriff, assistant chief, I was actually the one to go to all those meetings because many times the other people didn't want to go. So I'm very familiar with meeting with groups and talking with them and listening to the issues and taking action. I didn't leave a place without giving a solution or a promise to get the solution, and that's what will continue. I like people. I talk a little bit much. But I enjoy the interaction with people. I'm a social person. So when I see that somebody has an issue that they need fulfilled, then I want to find out how I can help. And a lot of times there may be conflicts. And if there's a conflict, I'll have to choose between. That's just how it is. But if there's an opportunity for me to be there, I'll be there as often as I possibly can. I believe that when you are at the top of the food chain, you have a lot of great people, and you need to delegate some things to be able to do your job. But you can't delegate away everything and hide behind the chair and the desk in your office. I've seen that way too much. I actually enjoy people. I'm not scared to go out in public and say hi and say I don't know, or I do know, or here, I'll get the answer for you later. I think sometimes our past leadership has been a little bit reticent to hear somebody who might be angry or might have a need and not know how to deal with it. Here's how you deal with a need. Listen. Find a solution and get back to them. It's that simple. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine.
I like the old cliche of 2 heads are better than 1, 5 heads are better than 3. We have 1,200 deputies, and nobody comes down to their level ever and asks them for their opinion. I do that on a daily basis. I love working side by side with my deputies. Those deputies have the greatest ideas. They have the best knowledge. Why would I rely on 3 people, 4 people, the assistant sheriff, 3 assistant sheriffs and 1 undersheriff? Why would I rely on just 4 people when I have 1,200 amazing deputies that I have resources from? They have the greatest ideas. They know how to fix the problems because they are working day to day in the trenches and they know where the problems lie. So why would I not reach out to them? I cannot, like I said before, I cannot see myself sitting in the office all day and just hiding behind the door, waiting for people to come see me and boost my ego. I am not that type of person. I will drive myself. I don't need an entourage to drive me around. I will go out and I will visit people. I'll go out to the streets. I love, as Kevin says, I'm a people person. That's why we are here. We love our jobs and we love communicating. We love interacting with the communities. And doing that is probably 90% of our job. And I am not afraid to be out there. And I would love to interact with the communities on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you. Sean.
I agree. I think that I mentioned this before. I grew up here, so I have a deep interest in how you, because you guys are me as well. I'm a community member, how you receive services. So I don't plan on being behind a desk. I want to be out in the field, visible, talking to people, looking at our communities, looking in our areas where resources are allocated and what resources are not. The sheriff needs to, in my opinion, I want to go out and meet every local politician, every local group. I'm going to be, like I said, very visible. I would like people here in this area, someone here, multiple people here to participate in the civilian oversight group. That's one of the things I'm going to implement. It will be an oversight group with teeth, meaning that it won't just be your voice. You heard it. It'll be action behind your voice. Those are things I'm committed to. So there, I have no intention of sitting around behind a desk and not being visible. If I'm not listening to my employees and I'm not listening to you, then I'm not doing a good job. You're the people we serve. And that's why I value that very, very greatly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Christine, this last question, we'll start with you. Name 3 of your key endorsements and why are you especially proud of these?
My one key endorsement that I'm most proud of is the endorsement from the Dean Democratic Club. I met with that club in June of 2021. And because of them, they are the ones that really, really encouraged me to run for sheriff. My heart and soul is with that club. And the other key endorsement that I want is the endorsement of you. There's no more important endorsement than that of the public, than that of the voters. You are the ones that will be deciding who is the next sheriff. There will be a change, but it will be up to you to decide if you want to stay with the old school guard that we have right now, or if you want a progressive reform, you want change that's really going to take place with the sheriff's office. I want your vote. I want the endorsement of Santa Clara County voters.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, I think the first group of people that's very important is again, you've heard this before, but you. I want the public's endorsement. I am, like, again, a homegrown person. I know my community. I know what folks want around here, and I know where the issues are and how to solve them. We have people attacking people in public all throughout the Bay Area because of their race. I want to be involved in those things, to stop those things. You will see me out there. My other endorsements that I received that I think highly of is one of Reverend Jethro Moore. He's a former president of the NAACP here in Silicon Valley. And the other one is of Joe Lopez, who's the president of the Latino Police Officers Association. But again, the most important one is you. I would like to serve you. I would like to make this place better. I understand where our problems are. I've addressed the problems. There isn't anyone that has addressed the problems as long as I have. And I know how to fix it. I know how to fix our agency. So I'm committed to that. I'm committed to serving you. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just to be clear, the old school guard is no longer running. That's gone. The person who's actually been calling out the mismanagement for that long, for 12 years, who's put himself on at risk and put my friends at risk because I kept doing it, because I brought correctional officers and deputies in to testify to the Blue Ribbon Commission, because I kept talking to the Mercury News and the Board of Supervisors. That's who's running. So I may have been there since 1985, and I fought every time because my motivation from the very beginning was, we are supposed to be better than this. I came from a life of dysfunction and I chose differently. And I want to bring something positive from the pain, because otherwise it's useless that I went through it. So that's why I'm running. And my key endorsements, the people, every law enforcement agency that has endorsed me. They've seen me for 37 years. I've led by serving. That's my motto, and integrity. I don't walk on water. I'm not perfect, but every day when I get up, I try to be a better person. I've been given a lot. I gave 25 years to Kiwanis as the president. Blanca Alvarado, Reverend Moore, we share that endorsement. And also the South Bay Labor Group. You know, so I have business, I have just about every major endorsement that's been given because I built relationships over time. And I want yours as well. I believe that this is the year after all this time, and I believe it's going to happen. I believe we're going to get the opportunity to lead together at some point. And I appreciate the fact that the people that are going to do the voting, not 41% this time, maybe a lot higher, and we'll be able to change together.
Thank you. Christine? Or did she start? You started? You started. Okay, I'm going to give you each actually a minute and a half, just to say whatever you want that you think you didn't cover in these, what do we have, 11 questions. So just to wrap up, and then we'll have a couple of statements at the end, and then we'll just party a little bit and everybody can mingle. Okay. All right. We'll start with you, Sean.
Well, I think I've said a lot. I think, you know, hopefully you have a decent understanding of who I am. I don't have an issue with addressing things for accountability. I think it was mentioned up here. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to promise all these things that I haven't already done. I've held the sheriff accountable, like Kevin says. I held Kevin accountable when he was assistant chief. I don't have a problem with addressing issues. Law enforcement is a culture, and what you're seeing across the country, as I mentioned earlier, George Floyd and everything else, and those situations, all the way back to Rodney King, is accountability. When cops are doing bad things, the management needs to take account for that. And like any corporation, it's the manager's fault. This agency has been misled for over 2 decades, and it's cost a phenomenal amount of money, an infinite amount of money, of your money, of my money, being a lifetime resident of this community. If we're going to fix this, we need someone who's not going to just say they're going to fix it, someone who has done it, who has been addressing the issues. I'm committed to that. I will continue to do that. The sheriff department has a great group of talented people. They're being misled, and that impacts the services that are being provided to you. And I plan on changing that if elected. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to say that over these 37 years, I have watched a lot in law enforcement across the nation change. As I've raised 3 children here, and now with 9 grandchildren, I've watched how law enforcement can be better and how sometimes we fail the public. Being in internal affairs, teaching ethics at the academy, the very first learning domain for 15 years, teaching managers as I've done since, and being on national boards, local boards, and state boards as president for all those organizations has given me a lot of knowledge, but I still need to learn, and I need to learn from you. I need to learn from the public. Every day I make that commitment to give back because I had such a start that was dysfunctional. So I will never stop giving back, and I will be, even in retirement, I started giving and serving but my passion has always been this department. I could have gone anywhere. I could have gone to 2 or 3 departments like others have. I stayed here to fix the problem. I'm committed to it. I'm committed to each one of you. My goal is to turn this place into the excellent service organization it should be for everybody, to give everybody the respect they deserve and their human dignity, and to lead from the top, not ask other people to do the job and shirk my responsibilities. I really appreciate the time that you took inviting me out. I want to say a thank you to my wife because I was supposed to have 2 days off to just spend some quality time. And she said, you know what, this is important. You guys are important. And she's that kind of 39 years this year. So it's important. I will make it up to her, but thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
So I'm going to take a little back. Mr. Rogers used to tell a story that when I was a little boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would always say, look for the helpers. If you see the helpers, you know there is hope. Well, we in law enforcement, we are not living up to our end of the deal, and we have taken away all hope. I aim to bring hope back. And when you see us coming, you know hope will be coming with us. The days of LAPD Rampart, Derek Chauvin, and Sheriff Joe are gone. The days of the good old boy club will be done. There will be no more racial profiling, no more punishing, no more punishing the victims, and no more warrior cops. Those days are done. We are public servants, and we are here to make your life better. Whether you vote for me or not, I am here for you, no matter your race, your immigration status, your gender, sexual orientation, your religion or lack of, or even if you are incarcerated. My first priority is you. I will bring back honesty, integrity, and transparency to the agency that I love, and I will bring hope back to Santa Clara County.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the 3 of you for coming tonight. It's really important, and it's so nice to see you in person rather than having to Zoom, since we did so much of that the last 2 years. So can we give a round of applause to all of them? Thank you. And I promised Wally if we had time, he had a statement he wanted to say, so I'll let him come up, and you got 1 minute, Wally.
And one or more people go out and get every mailbox on that floor. I contacted San Jose PD. They referred me to the postal inspectors. So I spent some time digging up phone numbers, and I finally wound up with the local post office. The supervisor who informed me that unless no mail has been stolen, which if it was sent to you and you never received it, you don't know it was sent, or if you had a lockable mailbox that was damaged. I know at least one person on my block that has existing damage on their lockable mailbox. I made a little walk up to the post office to mail some letters. I walked down through a body back to Citizens Drive. And in the course of that, I met a lady who's almost my age. It was that day replacing her mailbox for the third time because they broke it up in the process. We have a lady on my street who's had it happen too, also hers was broken up. This ain't going to get fixed unless the people who see the problem start calling the post office and complaining. Just won't get any action. It's just me calling in when I find my mailbox open. No big deal. But it's more than that. So I know some of the mailboxes on this side of 680 are out on the street, like mine is on the other side. So people got to do something. Tell their neighbors.
Thank you. Thanks, Lori.
It's not a good thing to hear. I'm sorry to hear about that. I want to thank the Zambarellis for bringing the cookies tonight. Judy, I'm thanking you. And Nancy has said, there she is. Nancy's going to bring the cookies next month, so we don't have to worry about cookies, and we have coffee. And our next general membership meeting is in May 9th, and it's the candidates forum for the Assembly District 24, which we are in. So that will be, and all of those 4 candidates have said they will be here. So hopefully that's true. And we have an executive board meeting next Monday night, and it's going to be at Sita's. So just reminding you. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Make sure you have coffee and cookies, and then you stay for a few minutes and then talk to people, and then we can go home. Yeah, I know it's a freezing cold night tonight, and so I really appreciate all you being here. Good night. Thank you.